Got the live camera going on YouTube. So welcome to those fans. I hope everybody checks me out on YouTube and sees our site there, our live broadcast. So if you have any comments and you're on YouTube or FaceTime, Facebook Live, FaceTime, Facebook Live, give us a comment. Let us know you're there. So as I say that, let's get started for the day. Our theme for today is one of it's really kind of interesting because it's a culmination of things for the last few weeks for me. It is about vision and people talk about visioning and setting a mission for their companies, for themselves personally, and that's great stuff. It's a great first place to start. Pound the stake in the ground, draw a line, whatever metaphor you want to use to take a first step towards that planning process. But here's what I want to add to that. Getting yourself in a place where that vision has a real understanding and sensitivity to the images in that vision. Because it's one thing to talk about the vision, write it down, put it on a book, put it in your diary, but another thing entirely to actually take action on it. And well, how do you do that? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to use things like Curtis Granderson with the Marlins being now in the top 100 club of home run hitters in Major League Baseball. I mean, that's amazing. He's got a great career. How did he create what did he do to create a vision for that? And is that vision the reality he sees today? Or is it more than what he saw for today? Or maybe it's less. But in either case, did you take the first step to have a vision of the processes, of the systems you're going to put in place to deliver your skill set? Not necessarily in specific terms like the top 100 club, like where Curtis Granderson is at right now, but he's also 13 seasons in. Actually, I think it's more than that. We'll talk about somebody else with 13 seasons in. But another thing we're going to talk about regarding vision is Tommy Johnson Jr., for example. Now, I talked to Tommy on Thursday. I kind of planted a seed in his head. Now, did that do anything with what he was preparing to do during the race? I don't know. Didn't ask him. I'm gonna ask him, though. Another thing is to talk about what happened a few weeks back with Series Fest right here in Denver. Now, just a reminder, Series Fest is a gathering of industry professionals that produce and train and market and all the things that go around the business of series, episodic television, movies, cable production. It could be even a cartoon. There's a Spider-Man cartoon that is an episodic event. It's not a feature film. It's not a cable show. It's not a documentary or comedic show, but it is episodic. So when I look at that industry and what goes into delivering something like what's new on the cable networks that Netflix has put out, it's called Rook, and it's about a group of paranormal law enforcement officers that use their powers, for good, to combat the forces of evil in the universe, I guess. But they're not superheroes, and they make a point in the show that is the distinction. It looks like everyday life. It's showcased in London, England. Now I had a chance to talk to the directors, the producers, the people behind the show, the actresses and actors that participate in it. It was a great Series Fest is a great thing. I encourage you next year to check out Series Fest next June of 2020. But we're gonna talk about another piece of that as well, where Shondaland Productions is connected with Netflix to expand their offering. Now, they're typically an episodic production company. They produce episodes of shows, whether it's shows about the stories that happen in Washington, or it's something about the legal community. That's where they've been. Well, with their interaction with Netflix, now they're looking at feature films that may be converted from feature film into a series, an episodic feature that gets cut up into pieces and chapters, if you will. It's just a very exciting time in multimedia social media. For goodness sakes, I saw the other day an episodic series that is less than 10 minutes long, each episode. I guess that plays to the attention span of the young adults. I'm not even going to label what or who they are, because I have my moments. Now, as I say that about Series Fest and showcasing that industry, as it relates to our theme for today, vision, all of this sets a mindset about the commonality, regardless of industry, regardless of activity, a common set of conditions. If you want to be your best, if you want to perform at the highest level, you got to go through these steps. And they're not always easy, and they're not always fun. Now, what you deliver, the outcomes that come through it, might be right on task of being fun and exciting. I know for me, sitting in the audience, listening to the comments of the actors and actresses that talk to us about their series, the Shondaland crew, their executive team, and what they're doing. I had a chance to interview a wonderful young woman, Rachel Murphy, who was honored with a directorial program with Shondaland, where she gets to, hang on to the apron strings or coattails or whatever, connected at the hip, whatever metaphor you want to use, to learn from those who have already succeeded at a very high level. And now that takes nothing away from Rachel. The interview that I had with Rachel, she talked about, and I asked her, because her credentials are outstanding. And I said, why did you participate in that program and then eventually win this award? She said it's because it's good for the resume. It creates an image to her vision in specific terms. The images are of that of Shondaland, what they've done. Her vision was, I want to be a better director. I want to broaden my spectrum of experience in the level of the production and direction I've done and move it to a higher level. Well, I think she's going to do that with the Shondaland experience. Now, in addition to that, we're going to talk a little bit about Broadway. And my wife and I had a great experience out on the East Coast for a number of days. And part of that time was spent on Broadway, literally on Broadway, walking the streets and living large. Well, kind of, sort of. I had a vision, but the images didn't manifest themselves. But Broadway's an interesting place to visit. It's very, very eclectic. The images change from day to day and sometimes moment to moment. But what's really important, has lasted a long, long time, is Broadway. The diagonal that cuts through Times Square and has on either side of it many wonderful places to eat and create visions, especially if you're a Broadway playwright. Well, we got to see a couple of them. We went and saw this wonderful play. We went and saw Oklahoma and had a great time there. And the other one we went to see was this is an amazing piece. What the Constitution Means to Me is awesome. And I encourage anybody that both of these productions will be going on the road later this year, I think, and then early next year for as long a run as necessary. And I encourage anybody to see both. Now, you might say, well, I've seen Oklahoma. I know the music. Oklahoma with the, wind. No. I'm going to bore you with my singing. Well, that's right. They kept the original score of that, but what they did is they made a little bit more contemporary dialogue in the production so that it reflects on social issues and social demography of what's going on in our world today. So you can make some real clear connections between the emotions of couples, the emotions of social interaction, the emotions of class and differences of opinion, and how people perceive one another. To our theme, visions and image. You might have a vision, but do you see the images? I might have a vision of my community that doesn't necessarily include people of color. But why do I do that? Did I see the images and how they may interact? And if I didn't, I may be discounting my entire community's capability of understanding where are the positives? Where are the good parts of that interaction? Well, Oklahoma, and I may have made too many layers in there. I'll leave it up to you. Go see it. Go see Oklahoma. And in particular, we'll talk about this in a minute when I share with you Ali Stroker and her successes as a cast member of Oklahoma, and give you some insights on that. one of the nice things I really liked about what the Constitution means to me is they gave us all a pocket Constitution, because they literally talked about the Constitution in very specific terms, with historical reference as well as bringing it forward to current day time, um, against the backdrop, the visionary backdrop of the writer and star of the production. And that star um, she's on the cover of the playbook, is Heidi Schreck. And Heidi Schreck, as a 14, 15-year-old high school student who was desperate to gain some money for her college education, used the American Legion's support, I guess, process. They have they still to this day have a method for kids to earn money for college by talking to American Legion audiences at anywhere they can, and it's all over the country, to share their knowledge and understanding of the Constitution. Basically, it's a debate, pro and con, and they will alter and change the debate. There's some guidelines and some rules. This play goes through it. Heidi wrote about her experience as a child and put it into a play. What's even more interesting, her vision of the play wasn't just about writing something for a report at school or for getting money to go to college. It was because of that experience that she learned about what the world's going to mean to her as a young woman. And then life experiences, which she may or may not have understood that vision, but definitely the images became graphically clear to her as she experienced them. What those images would do in sculpting and redefining her other visions for the future. I was very, as you can tell, I was very intrigued by both of these plays. Now, as I say that, I've got to show you something down here. This is my bobblehead, Mr. Tulowitzki. Yeah, well, regretfully, well, maybe not. Maybe it's the right thing to do. Injury is not a good thing. It's not a fun thing to come from. And he's a powerful athlete. Hold on 1 minute, folks. There we go. Let's get you back. I think I might be losing some power here. Well, Mr. Tulowitzki has retired, and that's regretful for the fans that love his level of performance and remember how active and strong he was with his performance as a professional baseball player. So he has officially announced he is retiring. Now, if I can just figure out technology here. All right, hold on just a second. I'm going to plug this bad boy in and get some power to it. See if we can get it rocking and rolling. Because I don't want to leave you without all this wonderful information we're going to talk about today. It's a good day here at 360 Performance. I'm your host, Lowell Whiteman. I'll tell you that much. And we're on KUHS Denver. There it goes again. Let's get her fixed. Let's get her fixed. Can you see me? I can see you. You know, it's amazing how in athletics, we talk about our athletes adjusting and adapting. And we want to make sure they know how to do that. And many times with the talk, we don't necessarily have the same practice capabilities as what we ask them to have. Oh, for goodness sakes. Okay, there we go. And we're back. All right. Power up. It's a great thing, power. So as I was saying, you know, we can have a lot of visions as coaches, and I do this all the time with my my people about coaching them and helping them out. And we create a vision in our mind, but we don't always communicate the images about what's going on. So I'm hoping that, as I said to you about Tulowitzki, I hope that Tulo has a vision for his future, and he's able to create some images about what his future is going to look like now that he doesn't have baseball. But with that being said, let me just give you some statistics and some facts about Tulo. He's 34 years old. He's been with the Rockies, obviously, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees. He ended up with the Blue Jays and was with the Yankees in between that. Well, we're just going to do this the old-fashioned way, people. Here we go. So, Tulo, he was with the Yankees for a few seasons, but he's been on the disabled list quite a bit. Most of it's been his legs that have been the problem. With well, I wish I could get this set up. Well, let's keep rocking here, and we'll see what we can come up with. Oh man. Technology is such an interesting thing. My YouTube fans, thanks for your tolerance here. We'll keep talking to you as we can. But the Facebook Live feed has been interrupted based on my technology is failing me. I don't exactly know why that is. We're thinking through it. Hey, Carrie, good morning. How are you? Good to have you with me. I wish you were here, Carrie. You were my great cameraman in Nashville when we were down there for the NFL draft. So I'm in the process of moving this through. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that are on the list for the day. Tulowitzki, as I said, he retired, and that was after 13 seasons. With the Major League Baseball. As I said, he was with the Rockies for a number of years, and then went to the Yankees, and then he's ended his career at the Blue Jays at Toronto. I'm sorry. Let's turn that back around. Blue Jays first, and then ended with the Yankees. So his ending was with the Yankees. Here's something that Tulowitzki he has said about his retirement. For as long as I can remember, my dream was to compete at the highest level as a Major League Baseball player. I think many of us can relate to that. Performing at the highest level. To wear a big league uniform and play hard by my teammates and the fans. I will forever be grateful for every day that I've had to live out my dream. It has been an absolute honor. You know, I can say from the times that I have spent both around the field, on the field, in the dugout at the Rockies, at Coors Field, Troy Tulowitzki doesn't, well, I don't know if he still lives as close as he used to, but he used to live very close to where I'm at right now. And occasionally you'd see him around grocery stores or Costco or what have you. Very approachable young man. It was an honor to be around him. And now that he's retiring at a fairly young age, it's a little sad, but I think he's going to find a great place for himself. He's got a lot of knowledge, a lot to share. I'm hoping he winds himself up into some time for himself and his family, and then perhaps getting back into baseball through the coaching routine. That would be awesome to see him doing that. So Let's take a quick look at some other things here. There's some interesting things that have come out. Again, visions. Some things that have come out. Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's on the Madden 20, which won't officially release for a few more weeks, but apparently Mahomes is like a staple in that new series game. He's like eating it up. And that's coming off an amazing rookie year, and then I think there's going to be there's going to be continually great things happening with the Kansas City Chiefs. But as a gamer, he's a gamer. He's in a game. He's in Madden 20. He's only 23 years old. Look for great things. He's got vision, and I hope his image shines pretty brightly on Madden 20. Look for that. It's coming out in next few weeks. I'm going to put down my phone for just a second. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about NFL camps, because we're in our mindset. We're finished up our mindset segment. We talked a little bit about our skills segment as to what about the 5 senses. Well, right now, you got camps going on all over the country. Today, I think it's today. Yep, today. I'll say officially, NCAA football begins their preseason camps legitimately with the rubber stamp. Maybe it's wooden stamp, metal stamp. I don't know what kind of stamp it is, but the NCAA says it's okay. Go forward and prosper. Now, I think there's some gratefulness, some gratitude by the players around the country that at the college level, that at least here in Colorado, we're not going to have 90 plus to 100 degree days. Not extraordinary, though. It could come back. We haven't gotten into August yet, or the Indian summer days in September. But it's coming. Now, that being said, I find this is going to be shortly. This is going to happen with college shortly after the experience and the successes that the NFL is going to have with it. But the NFL is now having training camp live coverage, both audio and video. And by the way, just as a thought, how do you not have audio with video, right? And you cannot have video with audio. Okay, just a thought. I'm just thinking out loud. Hey, Aaron, how are you? Good to have you with me. I regret, Aaron, you're looking at me from an angle, but if you go to YouTube Live, I'm also there, and that will be straight on. But we're talking about NFL camp. Now, that started, it's really getting going today, too, in a big way, but it's been going on all week. But today, officially, the NFL is really going to be broadcasting from camps. And you're going to be able to, and look, they're really getting after this. They've got Roethlisberger, they've got Steve Smith, and Ted again. They got owners, GMs, quarterbacks, key players. Let me go through the list here. So Roethlisberger, I mentioned him. Head coach Frank Reich and Andrew Luck with the Colts. The Saints today are going to have Alvin Kamara and wide receiver Ted. I mentioned Ted Ginn. They're going to have, let's see, for the Chargers, Phil Rivers. They're going to have, I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be on here too somewhere. Yeah, it's. I'll give you some times. Oh, Michael Silvers from the Cowboys, James Slater from Dallas. These are all broadcasters that are going to be on site at these camps. Now you can look into this on NFL.com/training camp. And that's all together, all one word, training camp. So NFL.com/training camp, and that's the landing spot for the 2019 camp coverage. And that's you're going to have news, you're going to have stories, you're going to have audio and video, with the video having some audio. Just saying. It's really extraordinary. I believe this kind of behavior by the NFL is going to create some activity at the college level for those colleges that can afford to do it. You know, like the SEC, and maybe my alma mater, the Big Ten, but I'm not gonna count on that. But I'll bet you the SEC, if they haven't already started it, it's on their mind to start having, you know, coverage along. Like if you go to Broncos camp, there's a certain area along the opposite the field house. It's probably the administrative building. There's a little alcove where there's tables for the press to set up, and they can broadcast. They can cover the field in front of them, and then at the end of practice, players will come over, and I'm sure their press people have already designated who's going to come over and talk to the press that's lined up there. Now, I'm going to say this on social media right now. Guess what? My milieu, my little way of doing things doesn't get coverage. We, from social media and the web people, we don't get to go there. The teams have said to me, you know, there's too many networks here. We don't have enough space. Excuse me? But I have almost as much of a footprint, bandwidth in the media as some networks do, or some local radio stations. I have more coverage every week in my viewership for one show a week, and they're on every single day. Can you tell I'm frustrated? Well, I guess I just want an equal play. I want to be there too. I want to be on the field or near the field, just like the big boys, just like the network folk. Because I'm a network. Look, I got a network right here. Got the dog, got my friends, family. I got people. All right, so the NFL camps are on. Check it out, NFL.com/training camps. Make your connection and take a look and a listen, because the video has audio. Just saying. It's really quite cool. Now I'm gonna talk a little bit about, because we just finished up our segment on skills, and I'm going to use that as a segue into mental conditioning by talking a little bit about Ali Stroker. Ali Stroker is a Tony Award-winning, in 2019, Tony Award-winning singer, actress that was one of the many stars in the Broadway play, Oklahoma. She's a character, both on stage as well as off. Wonderful human being, lovely young woman. And what sets her apart, in addition to her talent, which is just exemplary, got a voice that just comes from deep down here and just captures you, and yet is meaningful and delicate, and it doesn't overwhelm you when it shouldn't, but then overpowers you when it needs to, as it should in a musical like Oklahoma. Well, Ali maneuvers the stage differently than most people. Ali's in a wheelchair. And I tell you what, the girl is more nimble and agile in a wheelchair than some people with two legs standing upright and trying to move around on their own. You have to go see Oklahoma and watch how this girl does it. The stage is not the traditional stage. You are around them when you see what they're doing, and how they're acting. They are interacting with you. There's a very experiential moments with your participation, literally your participation. Some audience members actually sit in the set, which is really kind of cool. I mean, you are immersed in it, and it's the music Oklahoma. They didn't give up on that. Well, somebody had to have a vision for that, right? And I'm sure it was, directors, production people that helped with the set design. I also marveled at the set itself and what that was all about, how modular it was, how the pieces very fluidly came in and out. Now remember, my detailing of this is because I'm a performance guy. I watch people and things to see how they interact and how they're influenced by those interactions to either enhance or diminish their performance. It was a wonderful thing to see. I hope when they put it on the road that all the elements that made that production Tony-worthy, nominations as well as awards, continue with the same level of quality and care. Now, as I say that and wonder about the vision that they had for that whole setup, it's not extraordinary in the world of Broadway and stage productions to have those visions. What's interesting is, does the vision transfer from the storyboard to literally the props and images that go on stage, or the wardrobe, or the musical, or the orchestra? I mean, the orchestra for this was very modular. They sat right down in a little teeny pit built into the staging area. Awesome. And what's really cool is all the musicians were dressed as Western characters, as though they were just like part of the landscape, which was very cool. Now, as I'm saying this, remember, we're in our mental conditioning segment about environment. I'm talking about Ali Stroker, Tony Award-winning actress and singer, in a wheelchair. Had to be some pretty detailed visions about Ali and what she was going to do and how she was going to do it for it to come off well. And now look, there was no faults or faltering during the production while I was there, but I can imagine that the wheels of her chair may have found somebody's boot and rolled over it. Or maybe with the thin runways they had, maybe Ali had a few moments where, a few bumps, maybe even a few bruises. But that being said, it doesn't get recognized at the level it did with the nominations it had and then the following awards, 2 Tony Awards, by the way. If that happened, so that the vision they had translated into images, and those images became part of the mindset and the mental condition in that environment of the actors and actresses like Ali. That's what I look for and what I want to see affirmed, from vision to image to actions and results. Those are pretty cool. So let me ask you something then about, what do you do when you're creating a vision about the images that are created? Are you aware of those images so that you can apply your 5 senses in an environment where you need to deliver the results and the outcomes? For example, coming back to skills for a minute, that's our segment 2 about the 5 senses. I asked the question, what does it take to see the images in your vision? Are you breathing? Now give yourself a foundation to get this going, right? Are you breathing? It's essential. You must breathe. Everybody must breathe. But breathing in moments that, all right, let me picture that. Let me get, okay. And you don't want to have tunnel vision. You want to have your scope opened up in your vision so that when you get into the environment, that visioning sees all the images. It doesn't go tunnel vision. Now remember, anxiety, frustration, anger, whatever the emotions are, can cause tunnel vision. I've talked about an Olympic wrestler client of mine that had, my gosh, it was like the size of a softball. That's all the vision he had. That's all he saw. The closer he got to difficult times, competitive events. And yet, the skill sets were strong enough, he still performed well, even with that anxiety. Well, now that we've moved that away, he's won gold medal championships in Canada. He's getting prepared for the Olympics for himself in freestyle wrestling. It's all good stuff. So what are you doing to see the images in your vision? Well, breathing is an important one. No tunnel vision is the second one. To see the landscape, see all the details in that landscape. Be aware. There's a phrase that many times is used in business and sports. It's called be present. With coaching, we say, are the players present? So they're coachable. So we'll interchange that term, be present, with, are they coachable? And if they are, and we get them to, all right, settle down, control your emotions, breathe, see the landscape, no tunnel vision, then maybe we can help them define the path that they pick to travel on. Now, in sports, if you're a receiver, your path is pretty clear. Run the route, running back, linebacker, quarterback. You have clear guidelines as to what you're being asked to do. Well, that isn't always the case in life, in other areas. And perhaps that's why playing games, being in sports, being on the stage, is important to people because it's got clarity. The images and the vision that creates images becomes fairly clear. And many times you don't have to worry about it yourself. Somebody's done it for you, right? Well, that's wonderful. But in the environment you go into, as I say this to many players, I don't cross the line with you. You cross the line, I stay here, you have to deliver. In that space, stage, field, at home, in your car, wherever it is, in that space, it's all you. So I want to remind everybody about when you start to move your vision to the images and then hopefully deliver outcomes, you have to have a swagger about yourself in that environment. I tell my clients all the time, it says, it's all about you. Not in a selfish way, but in a self-actualizing way. So that you can be prepared to help others. Until you help you be the best you can be, it's hard to help anybody else. So as we talk about vision and seeing the images, in the mental conditioning component, you're bringing, as we talk about every week, you're bringing your mindset with your skills into this space so that you can deliver results and outcomes. A minute ago, Carrie, if you're still here, remember, you've got people going into nursing homes, pharmacies, doctor's offices, all different kinds of places. Are they seeing the details? Are they moving their scope out here and not into a tunnel vision? Challenge them to see what they see. In the sales world, we talk about how, did you look at their desk? Did you look at the stuff around their desk to get an idea of what that person is, that decision maker does for themselves, so that you have a way to relate to them, building a relationship and connecting your vision with those images. So as we move to the last segment of our show every week, which is process and performance results, I want to make sure I don't forget a couple of things in honoring others. And we talked about Troy Tulowitzki a minute ago, but I also want to make sure that I honor actually where Kerry Dilley comes from. That's in wonderful, the eastern part of the country, Kentucky. And the wonderful company he works for, AvCare, that's AVKARE.com, AvCare.com. We have this wonderful product from them. It's Germ Block, which is soon to be called Waltz Free, and its sister product, Waltz D for disinfectant. Both of them are alcohol-free and are wonderful products. One, because it's alcohol-free, and two, you don't have to use a lot. Just a little pinch right there in the palm of your hand is all it takes, and it's a lotion. I mean, I have had so many people go, "Whoa, that's awesome!" with the lotion. So take a look at their website, avcare.com. Go to their store, pick this up. Good stuff. I like the spray foam as well for the disinfectant for countertops. Especially, some people say I'm a little messy in the kitchen. I don't agree with them. It's a creative process. Things have to happen for the creation to be magnifical. That's a big word. The point is, though, it cleans stuff up and keeps it safe. It takes care of the norovirus and staph and strep that might be on countertops when you don't clean your sponges the way they should be cleaned. So I take care of that. So take a look at AvCare and take time to keep clean, stay clean, be green, as we say out here in Colorado. Now, as I say that, I put the lotion on, I was wringing my hands together. I remembered that I'm not as young as I used to be. And I'm hearing all this press about T-cell replacement, do this, do that, inject it into your joints, blah, blah, blah. Become a teenager in your 50s or 60s. Well, that being said, that's all wonderful and great. But in the moment, I don't necessarily I didn't rush to get my T-cells created, or cultivated to put in my joints. So what I'm left to are more superficial things. I've constantly looked for things, the icy hots of the world. I use that as a generic term, which is just a superficial lotion that kind of warms up and makes you feel warm for a moment. But Empower body care products is what I use. They're CBD based. They're really well produced by my colleagues and friends out in Oregon, in Portland. And I'm going to direct you to their website, empowerbodycare.com. Check it out. Get the bath salts as well. I use them for soaking my feet, especially after a long bike ride or a couple rounds of golf. My feet get a little sore, but those bath salts and then the oils are just phenomenal for just rollerballing it into my hands and making it work. Now, if you do that, take a look at the site and you put a code in. It's LW010 and get a little benefit from me to you. CBD oil from empowerbodycare.com. All right, so there. We took care of that stuff, didn't we? Now, if you ever want to send me some remarks or take a look at what I do, take a look at 360mindset.com. And by all means, every Friday at 11 o'clock, check us out. 360 Performance. We are here every Friday at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And we're distributed by KUHSdenver.com. I love what we do. They are the best at their web broadcasting and internet media broadcasting all over the world. So take a look at us and all the many platforms, because once this show is done live, we're shooting it out to all different kinds of platforms. And today, as I said to you before, we're on YouTube Live today. Hope you check it out and ring me up whenever you can. Our final segment every week, performance results. That's kind of a catchy phrase, which really means process. It's hard to get results if you don't have a process that works, that thinks about the end in mind. Get a vision, project it out here, and then walk it back to see what it's going to take to make it happen. Well, I can tell you right now, the success of my practice and those athletes and executives I've worked with know for a fact the results are there for them about a process. And putting a process in mind with a vision that has images that they can relate to, they can make their own in those moments and be present. And in doing that, they create opportunities for themselves. Now, pardon me while I do some maintenance here. Okay, so when you create a process based on a vision, in the business world, we tend to write a lot of stuff down. Now, that's a good thing because we need to read it, write it, and say it for it to really get retained and stuck in our heads. But there's a caution here. In the business world, we write a lot of stuff down. We use our emails and we do texting and we write reports and, we email them off and what have you. But I would ask each of you who are creating wonderful systems and strategies to follow up with people to see that they are connecting with the images your vision has stated you are asking them to subscribe to. Human behavior is not like the principles of the world. The principles of the world, here's one. You take this bottle, you throw it up, it comes down. That's gravity. Doesn't matter where you're at, it's the same thing everywhere in the world. Not the same necessarily with human behavior. You can ask people from your vision and what you want the image to look like as it relates to the outcomes you prescribe. It doesn't always happen that way, right? Now, sometimes it happens better. Have a vision, get an idea of an image, you go out and practice, try to make that happen. Boy, you get more than you expected, right? Doesn't always happen, though. So I encourage those in the position of management and the role of leaders that you're constantly staying focused on each moment you expect an outcome so that you have affirmation that the delivery is at the level of excellence you expect. Now, with what our theme is about today, you want to make sure you check out the environment. That the environment supports the images you're projecting. Here's some examples that are more than just a projection. Like, for example, with me, I've got these bracelets that I wear. These are from Four Oceans. This is a not-for-profit organization, primarily on the West Coast of the United States, but all over the world, that's collecting waste, plastic waste, steel, fiber from nets, garbage, but primarily the polymers and plastics that are out in the ocean that are just messing with the sea life. Well, this is a specific. It's very easily understood. Extend that to a football field. There's a ball on the field. There are lines on the field. There are visions created for you to give you an idea of what does the outcome look like. That's not always the case with the stuff we write down. We need to have some guidelines so that we can process things in a way that when we practice it, that process, we get a feeling that's really going to truly deliver as close to the prescribed results as we want. Another example, maybe a little clearer. If I run a race, I know that for me to know I win the race, the image is I'm here and everybody else running with me is behind me. And in front of me is either a line or a tape or maybe both, that when I cross it ahead of those people, I've won the race. Pretty simple, right? Well, everybody else that's there maybe is physically strong as me. Some may be stronger, some may be not as strong, but they all compete. And depending on the conditions and the environment, there may be an influence of, if it's running the race outside, there's weather. If it's running the race inside, it might be the track is different, the surface is different. Maybe it's too cold in the indoor arena. There are factors that are not within your control, but you can practice what you anticipate might be there. So I encourage everybody to look at their visions and identify the mindset you need to have within that vision to get the images you expect on the outcome. What part of the 5 skills are you going to use most often with your desire, your mindset to get to those outcomes? And then you take a look at those 2 things, the mindset set up in that environment, the skills, my foundational 5 senses and the skills that they represent, bringing that forward in this environment and adjusting that environment to the point that I can control it, right? You can control what you wear, what you put on your feet, what you eat, how you respond to the cold or not. And then the last thing is processing it, putting it through the steps that you practiced it with to make it happen, to make it yours. And I'm very interested in performance results because it's my metaphor for process. You've got to have a process, and you've got to practice that process to give yourself some evidence through your behavior in that practice that you're going to have a better than likely shot at the outcomes you prescribe. Coming back to my race analogy, you know that historically somebody before you has run the same race, maybe even in the same place, and their time was 40, let's say. You practice, you have a process, use your skills, you are in a certain environment that you can control, or maybe like the environment you're going to go into to actually run the race, and you create a mindset. We talk about the primary factor of a mindset is remove the negatives. So you're doing all those things, and you're practicing the realities of those constructs every time you practice. And somebody's got to watch on the side as you cross that line with nobody in front of you, everybody's behind you. You get a 42 or a 41.5 or maybe a 39.5. You go, oh, I better repeat those behaviors. Now, there's a caution here. If you get a 41 and you know what you have to hit is 40 or less to have any chance at all of getting the prescribed results you want, don't get frustrated. Focus on the process, not on the number. The number is just validation that the process isn't quite as good as it needs to be. Focus on the process. Examine the vision and what images need to be added, deleted, or changed to get you to the 40 or below. Now, once you get to 40 or below, let's say 39.5, what do you do with it? Oh, done. I'll move on. It's all good. I'm going to say to you, no, you don't move on. You you examine again the vision and the images to then see what I need to do to repeat that. What were the conditions in that process, that performance result, that I need to make sure are constant? This is where fans look at high performers and say, oh, they're superstitious. They have to have their hat on a certain way, or they have to have a certain color coat on, or their shoes tied a certain way, or something in their bag, or some of that comes with it. But I'm not talking about superstitions. I'm not even talking about habits. Like I put my shoes on first, and then my socks. No, that wouldn't work. Would it? Put my socks on first, then my shoe. You see, my point is that there's people have routines they get into, and that's a good thing as well because it supports the vision to those images you want. More importantly, I'm talking about the actions that are part of this vision to create those images. That you look at those items and where are they delivered within the process. At what time during the race did you feel your foot hit a certain stroke on the ground? How wide was your stride? Those are things in the process that individuals don't tend to think about in a greater detail as you need to. That's really an emphasis on being present and making sure you're looking at the vision in detail with perspective and the presence to see the images, and then take those images in to find out where do they feel right through the process. What does it feel like? What are my hands doing when I run? What are my feet doing when I run? Where's my head at? I better keep my head here because I don't want to look over there at my mom or my wife or my sister or whoever. And I know they're going to be in there in that environment, but that may distract me. So that's what we're talking about today. The vision, and how do you discover the images that deliver elite performance? I'm so happy I'm here. This is a great day in Colorado. It's not hot. It's not cold. It is just right. And it's even better that I'm on I'm outdoors at our studio outdoors. I like this, but I also like being with the crew at KUHS when we produce every Friday at 11 o'clock, 360 Performance with me, your host, Lowell Whiteman, and the wonderful work that we do at KUHS in leading the effort in delivering great social media messages. In my case, issues of performance, how to be a lead performer, how to create the vision that delivers images for results of excellence. Have a great day today. Secondary studio, some pretty weather with it, but that's remember it's our last people around the Oilers Raceway, so Oilers Raceway, talking to just getting a number of people. We had a great time talking to Tommy Johnson Jr. on Thursday, where I'd be putting a prediction down with Tommy. He said that he'd probably come away with great performance in it. Tommy, that's your class. And that seems to be his standard